Welcome everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Dr. Jed Diamond, and he's the accomplished author of many books, but most recently of The Enlightened Marriage. And I'm so excited to have him on the show today because today he's going to tell us the 5 stages of love and why many stop at stage 3. So we want to find out why, because we all want to get to that point in marriage, right? So we need to know what's stopping us from getting there. So before we jump into it, though, Jed, I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit about you and what made you become a psychotherapist that really focuses on relationships and, more importantly, about male issues in relationships.
Well, there are really 2 things. First, I think we really do teach what we want to learn. And for me, relationships were a mystery. I came from a family where my father was gone from the time I was 5 years old. I was the only child raised by a mother. So I didn't know a lot about how to have a successful relationship. And I didn't know a lot about what does it mean to be a man because I didn't have a father in my life growing up. So what I found was that I needed to learn those things, particularly after having gone through 2 marriages and 2 divorces. I realized I really need to learn what it is about relationships that allows them to be successful, because that's what I wanted. And I found that I learned those things, thankfully. And I'm now married to my wife, Carlin. We've been together for 37 years now. So first of all, I wanted to understand personally. Secondly, in my professional life, as a counselor who's been working with men and the families that love them for more than 40 years, I found there really wasn't a lot of good information about men and what men needed and what men did or didn't do that either helped relationships or split relationships apart. So between the personal and the professional, I really found this my calling to do the work for myself, my relationships, my family, my children and grandchildren that hopefully can be of value to others as well as myself.
Well, it's definitely of value to others, which is exactly why I had you as a guest on the show. So can you tell us what stage 1 is?
Well, I think we all have experienced stage 1 at some point in our lives. I call it falling in love. And it's that wonderful, crazy head over heels feeling when you finally feel like the chemistry's there. You found that special someone, and you've chosen them, and they've chosen you, and you have those weeks, months, and hopefully years of early relationship where you only have eyes for that person. You can't sleep because you're thinking of the person. When you're away from them, your heart breaks and aches, and you're in love, right? We know that. So that's stage 1.
Okay, so what's stage 2?
So stage 2, again, many of us have had some experience with this, where once we've settled on at that special someone, and the chemistry and the neurotransmitters have said, this is the one. Then we start building a life together. We move in together usually. Sometimes we'll start a family. And the feeling is, all right, maybe I can't stay in love always, but I can have a deeply loving, connected relationship. And we in a sense, settle in, put down roots, and look forward to living happily ever after.
So I just want to clarify. So is stage 2 when you get married, or can it just be living together, or can it even just be boyfriend and girlfriend, exclusive relationship, but not living together?
All of those things. It's really that time where you've said, you're somebody I want to have a long-term committed relationship. It's not dating where you're just being with a lot of different people and companionship and going out, and it's a feeling of, I want a relationship. That can be a formal marriage. It can be living together. It can even be people that aren't living together but are committed. When my wife and I first got together, she lived in Oregon and I lived in California, and we were in a committed relationship, and we saw each other as much as we could, and we talked on the phone a lot, but we actually weren't living together until later.
Okay, so then what's stage 3? Because this is the stage that you said where a lot of relationships stop or
Right.
they dissolve from here, right?
Right. Well, part of, I think, what I discovered about these other stages, starting with stage 3, is that relationships after the falling in love and the love stage, what I believed, and many of us I think believe, is that then it's happily ever after. If you've found the right person, you've kind of gotten over the learning to live together and be together, and then you hope everything's going to be fine and we'll live happily ever after. That isn't what happens for almost everybody. And what actually happens is we hit a period of disillusionment. We start going, something's not right. We're fighting more, or we feel distant, or we feel incompatible. We wonder, we don't have a lot in common. That can happen, quickly after, months, or it can be after 5, 10, 15 years we hit that time. And for most people, that's a time where they say, geez, I guess I made the wrong choice. I thought this was the one, but it's clearly not working out. And we go looking for somebody else, or we just, if it's been a really tough period of difficulty and fights, we just go, I just have to get out. Well, here's what we learned through our research and study, is that stage 3 is a stage of a healthy relationship. How about that? That the disillusionment that sets in can be either I've made the wrong choice, or more often what it really is a letting go of the illusions that we have projected onto our partner. I mean, think of it. When we first meet, we're really not seeing that person for who they actually are. We're seeing our projections, who we want them to be, who we hope they're going to be. The person that they're going to meet all my needs like my first wife didn't, or my mother didn't, or my father didn't. And so the opportunity in stage 3 is to be able to now start to see the actual person that we're with. And the other part of that is we get to heal the wounds that all of us bring into relationship, whether we had really dysfunctional families that we grew up in, as is true for many people, where there was abuse, neglect, or abandonment to some degree. It's actually very common. It isn't something that only happens to a very select few. So in stage 3, we get to heal the past as we go deeper in our stage 3 present. And if we do that, we can both heal the past, heal the present, and then hopefully move on to stage 4.
So what I'm hearing is that this is really where the real work begins in a relationship, and that when the tough gets going, you start working harder. You don't just give up, right?
That's what I have been telling people for more than 40 years. I have people that come to me often, at one or two places. Either they've been in a relationship and they go, I want to be in another relationship, but I don't want to make the same mistakes again. I don't want to run into the same problems I did. I don't want the same outcome. Or they're in a relationship and they see that they're hitting the rocks and they don't want to give up. They feel like somehow I want to recapture the love. And so what I do is help them recognize that this is a stage of a good relationship. I'll give you a little story that helped me. When I was first married, my first wife, we went to hear the world-renowned psychologist that I had read about, learned about, and he was named Carl Rogers before many of your time, but he was the psychologist, and his wife was at the lecture. He was talking, he was in his 80s. They'd been married, for 50 some odd years. And he says, he was recalling, hey, you remember that difficult time that we had? And I went, you had difficult times? You're the renowned guy. And then he went on and said, oh, yeah. And she smiled and said, oh, yeah, there was that time. Said, yeah, there was those, 13 or 14 years that we really had a hard. And 13 or 14 years, I couldn't imagine, being newly married, that one, you could have problems, Secondly, that you could have problems for 13 or 14 years. But when you're married for 50 or 60 years, problems can last for a time. So this stage 3, I tell people, hopefully it isn't going to last 13 or 14 years. But if it lasts, a year, sometimes 2 years, it's worth for many people going deeper rather than bailing out and then trying to start over with somebody else at another time.
I love that you said that. Okay, so what's stage 4?
So here's the really cool part when you get through stage 3. Stage 4 is, I call, real lasting love. And it's got 2 elements. Number 1, it's real because you've gotten through the projections, the disillusionments, the who we thought the other person was, who we needed them to be to fulfill, the wounds that we had from the past. Secondly, it's a real relationship because now that you've healed the past, here's a little tip that I'll give all of you. 90% of the problems that we have in our relationship don't have anything to do with the person that we're with. They have to do with the past, our past relationships, 90%. So it makes sense then we do have 10% problems with my present wife. 90% is my previous wife and the other wife and my mother and my, relationships in my family. So if we heal those relationships, then we can have real lasting love. And here's another thing about real lasting love. Stage 4 is that the falling in love stage that we thought was a time limited, right, for the first few months and you had to give that up. We found he actually done brain scans and find that people who are happily married for 20, 30, 40 years have the same brain reactions when they see their partner as young people who are falling in love for the first time. And I found that with my wife. We've been together 37 years. And we're, people see us that we look like newly married couple, and they can't believe you've been married 37 years. You sing, you're hugging, you're touching, you're smiling, you're interacting. So that's what people can look forward to if they get through this dip in stage 3 and come out the other side in stage 4, real lasting love.
Oh, I love that you said that. Okay, so what's stage 5?
So stage 5, I discovered is an even more exciting stage. I call it finding your calling as a couple. I think all couples, think about all the problems in the world that we're having, all the things that need to be fixed. They really get down to how do you love? How can nations love and care about another nation that they may be in conflict with? How can political parties learn to hear, respect, and care about each other? And I thought, God, if we can't even heal our love lives, how do we have any chance, of healing our planet, of healing the conflicts that we see in the world? But the other side of that is if we can have deeply loving relationships, what could a couple do together as partners to be able to do whatever their gift is to the world? Just like I think we each individually have a gift to give the world, our calling or our great gift that each of us has in our lives. I think also couples have a great gift to give to the world if they're able to deepen their love and share that in some way with others.
Oh, yeah, I completely agree, because then you're sharing more than just your personal relationship. It's something bigger, right?
Right, exactly right.
Well, these have been some great tips. So, Jed, tell our audience how they can find you.
It's easy to find me. My website is menalive.com, menalive.com, menalive.com. And I have a special gift for any of your audience that would like to come there and connect with me there. You find my articles and other work that I'm doing. But I have a very special video with the Iyanla Vanzant, who many of you know is an expert relationship counselor. Has her own show on the Oprah Network. Iyanla saved my life. And I've known her for years. We did a class together. And in the class, she shared some of her tips and her very personal, revealing relationships about how she came to understand men and she was able to overcome the blocks and the difficulties she had in relationship. So people that come can download that video. We'll send you a link, and I think you'll find it really interesting and really helpful.
Awesome. Well, everybody go and get Jed's free gift. Thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you'd like to view the videos, go to singleandstilettos.com. If you'd like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. If you'd like to get our free ebook on the 3 secrets guaranteed to attract any man based on scientific research, just click right here on the video or go to singleandstilettos.com.